There are two things I want to show off today. Number one, Teclis might just be the best mage in Mortal Empires now. He was already really good, but his sword got reworked and now he has an Arcane Phoenix. And number two, there are some filthy flame damage combos the High Elves have access to that can make any high value target turn into a crispy pincushion in about 5 seconds flat. Be showcasing one of those in this battle against Heir of Carthage at the Bay of Corsairs, as the High Elves and Dark Elves bring out the big guns, and Mama Marathi gets her braids dry humped by Sulafet. Honestly, not sure that needs to get fixed. Getting mounted by a horse sounds fairly in line with her character arc. So, Heir of Carthage is playing as the Druki, I am playing as the High Elves, and Teclis is a different animal and the same beast. He was already one of 2 meta picks alongside Alariel, but now that he has an Arcane Phoenix, he is legitimately terrifying, in large part due to the Sword of Teclis, which now functions like Arcane Conduit, which stacks with his passive Greater Arcane Conduit, which means his Winds of Magic pool is even more absurd than before. Probably a good thing that item got reworked, because he was beating Malekith and Seraphon in melee with the old version. But he basically never runs out of mana now, which means he's pretty scary in terms of his casting potential. Now the mount is absurdly expensive at 1750 gold, so you can literally buy the Fireborn for that cost, and his Phoenix does not have Rebirth or Emberstorm, but with its innate ward save, his Potion of Shiroi, and all his spells, I think he's going to be incredibly hard to deal with, and his spell selection brings all the synergy I need for my core strat here, which is to stack Kindle Flame, Net of Amantok, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and the Flammable Weakness from the Talons of Torquelada, alongside the Sisters of Avalorn, who already deal flaming damage. And the idea there is to net any big monster or lord in place, give them 44% weakness to fire damage, then Arrivederci. Sayonara, good night, sweet prince. That sweet core of archers in the center will dumpster pretty much any monster in the game in seconds flat. Now on the flip side, march the Dark Elves of the Cult of Pleasure, led by Queen Marathi and a master on Dark Pegasus. She has her Heartrender and the Dark Sword paired with Enchanting Beauty for the constant melee attack reduction, and together they represent a pretty big threat to Teclis in an aerial duel. He can bypass the Guardian Aura, but as beastly as the Arcane Phoenix is, there's no way he can take that fight alone. Fairly standard build otherwise, Dark Riders on the flanks, Cold One Knights, Harpies, Dark Shards, Dread Spears, and Black Arc Corsairs, with the elite Blackguard of Nagarond anchoring the melee fight. So I was very curious to see what this Archer core could do against big single entities, and I was really hoping to see a Hydra or a Black Dragon, or maybe a Bloodrack Shrine waiting on the other side, and just take it from 100 down to 0 instantly. Unfortunately, we're stuck with tiny mounted flyers to shoot at, who, as we know, tend to matrix dodge a lot of arrows once the first volley starts to hit. That shutter animation and small hitbox can save them a lot of trouble, so I figured, hell, if they can perform well here, if I can snipe them out, it will absolutely wreck a Carnosaur or a Stegodon or a Dragon or something with a bigger hitbox. So Teclis is going to set up all of this. It's all about the Net of Amantok. It's all about setting up the archers and giving them time to fire. And the Silverin Guard and Silverhelms, their only job on the flanks is to hold down the tides and make sure all these fast movers can't get in and tie up the archers. They're not going to do a lot of killing. They just need to hold and push back the tides that are going to swarm and try to shut down the Sisters of Avalorn early. And one of the best ways to force an opponent into range with this combo is to try and bait them in. Silverhelm's going right up the center into the Black Arc Corsairs, trying to set up that Net of Amantok play. The timing's a little bit off. Catch the flyers when they're on the ground. Looking back on it now, pretty glad I cast that net because it saved my Silverhelms. They would have gotten pooped on there, but your archers lose a ton of accuracy at max range as opposed to units maybe halfway into their fire arc. So waiting to use that net for when they're much closer to the archers is probably a better call if you want to outright delete a unit from the game. But with the Flaming Sword of Ruin kicking off as well, that'll give them 25% extra missile damage, and so any shots they do land are going to hurt. And of course they will be bypassing that Guardian Aura from the Master. So he took about half his HP worth of damage there. Would have liked to have done a little bit more, and the Talons of Torquelada were for some reason not firing at the right target that entire time to imbue additional fire damage, but still ended up working out okay. It's not a huge investment because Teclis has such a huge Winds of Magic pool to work with, and the Dark Riders are getting destroyed by these Silverhelms. Their lances finding the mark over and over again, and a Flame of Azurian arcing forth, the Phoenix rebirthed anew, slamming in from the side and hitting a whole bunch on nothing. Nicely dodged from Heir of Carthage there. And actually maybe a little bit of friendly fire damage too. It's a really good way to dodge that bounce spell from Teclis, and you can actually friendly fire your own stuff if you're not paying attention. So the Phoenix going in and clearing up the Harpies. They're going to get terror routed off very quickly. And the High Lore Master's job is really just to patrol the backfield and create space, while Morathi drops a Soul Stealer on his head. And clip the Silver Helm, Spearmen, and Sisters of Avalorn as well. Nice cast. The Master is done already. Took one too many arrow volleys to the dome. Dude's got a splitting headache now, and he's heading off to go pop some pills off screen, and we will not be seeing him again. So Focus Fire definitely racked up some great damage on him, and now Morathi no longer has that Guardian Aura, although I did have a lot of ways to bypass that anyway, so not the biggest deal in the world, but still, don't want to lose your Master. Melee combat is for sure going to go the way of the Druchii. They've invested more in that than I have, but these Silverin Guard have really impressed me so far. At their price point, their stat line with Martial Prowess active and their high armor allows them to hold against damage dealing units really well, but Raptors are on the prowl. Alongside the Blackguard and Nagaron, they're putting an immense amount of pressure on the Azure range contingent, and keeping them all online and firing is proving pretty difficult. Teclis has popped his Sword of Teclis for the second time this battle, means he's getting a huge boost to his Winds of Magic pool. Archers are free for now, but Dark Riders are into the rear, so are Harpies, and yeah, the High Lore Master has his hands full trying to get rid of all these fast movers. They're just diving over and over again into the back, and I'm not splitting my archers quite as efficiently as I should be. I really should be sending one out to one flank, one to the other, separating them so we can get angles of fire in so they can't all get tied down at once. But yeah, Air's doing a great job with the Dark Riders, and Teclis should be able to see them off pretty soon, but he's having to go to each unit one by one, bouncing in between them, and during that time, it's allowing the Dark Riders and the Harpies more time to deal damage and cut down on my ranged firepower. But Teclis is going to rip them a new one for sure. That Arcane Phoenix is beastly in melee combat. As long as Heartrender and the Dark Sword and Enchanting Beauty are not active on him, he's going to be close to 50 melee attack and causing terror and ripping them asunder. Harpies again diving in, but that is no mere feral beast. That is Morathi, the Hag Queen, and she will prove quite the difficult nut to crack for Teclis, the High Lore Master. So we got a duel now. Regrowth popping down on the Arcane Phoenix, and this is one of the things that's going to make him so strong. It is so easy for him to reach the healing cap. He's got Regrowth, he's got the Potion of Shiroi for that 44% ward save and the heal too. So Morathi and Teclis can't really kill each other. There's just no way. And Morathi going to take an opportunity to slice the heads off some of the talons of Torquelada. And the issue now is that we're getting really near to the edge of the map. Air's done a great job of pushing me further and further along, closer to that white line as I fight a fighting retreat, really. And we're getting so close to the white line now that any unit that routes might just disappear off the map entirely. And if I lose all my archers, I'm going to be in really big trouble. Morathi is just so annoying right now. Have to cast another Net of Amantok, which will tie her down, but she'll be able to take flight after it, and that will make it a lot more difficult for my archers to shoot her as Teclis duels her in combat. Enfeebling Foe dropped on her too. I mean, you can see that Teclis' magical output is insane. He has already cast like 6 spells, and he's not even halfway through his Winds of Magic pool. The Blackguard Corsairs are hunting down my archers. The Cold One Knights are in there too. Talons of Torquelada probably not going to be on the map for too much longer. And the Order of Lore Masters just getting driven into the sea. Silverhelm's on life support. So are the Cold One Knights. All of them are just going to retreat into the ocean and go for a swim. Nice little beach vacation for sure. That's how the Warhammer world functions, right? That's how they do things here. The archers are still online. They're still alive, but obviously they're taking a beating. And Teclis is trying to tear out everything that continues to try to tie them down. But he's fighting a losing battle as more and more of these Druchii abominations charge forth. The Dark Shards are still full HP. Silverin Guard are up to 71 kills, destroying Dread Spears over there. They'll take a while to get back over to this side of the battlefield as yet another Flames of Azurian rains down. That Fiery Convocation actually going to deal friendly fire damage, and that's why I really don't like the spell. I actually just destroyed my own unit. It didn't deal a massive amount of damage overall, but the spell is really just not that great. It's bound to Teclis. Probably just worth dropping, honestly. Like, I can never land it. Unless you net something in place, you aren't going to. It's so easy to dodge. The wind-up time on it is absolutely absurd. And Dark Shards are into range now, and those volleys are devastating to both the Talons of Torquelada and the Sisters of Avalorn. And I'm quickly going to realize that now that the Dark Shards are finally in range of all my high-value troops, they are the #1 priority. If I was Air here, I would probably leave those Witch Elves back and try to pin down Teclis as he dives in, and imbue him with that Madness of Cain. Instead, he's going to go forward and make sure the rest of the Sisters route off the map. And now it's a great opportunity for Morathi to charge in. Enfeebling Foe is popped on her for the second time. That will lower her stats. Both are going to be hitting at about 30 melee attacks, so both are going to find themselves incredibly challenged in trying to deal any damage to each other whatsoever. But the Witch Elves close into melee, and they should be enough, even though they're really low in health, should be enough to finish off these sisters, and that will leave only one unit of archers left. Teclis is in good shape. Morathi is in good shape because she can cast that Soul Stealer probably 2 or 3 more times this battle. Won't deal a lot of damage to Teclis, but each time it will give her 400 more HP to work with, and so she'll be able to heal up to relatively full. The Silver and Guard have been heroes this game. They're up to 71 kills, haven't even lost their martial prowess yet, chasing after Dark Shards and pulling those Black Guard away from the Sisters of Avalorn. And Morathi realizes she can't dive in there because Teclis would then get a rear charge, so she'll kind of fly around on Sulafet and be annoying on the wings and wait for an opportune moment to strike. Black Guard chasing after the Silver and Guard. That'll be a very curious fight. I'll be very interested to see who wins that, but the Sisters are doing enough damage to the Black Guard that they realize they've got to turn around and go after the archers. Both armies are in tatters at this point, and it's looking like it's going to come down to the remnants of infantry as more volleys come in, and of course, these single entities between Morathi and Teclis and their inevitable duel, which we've been building up towards this entire battle. Nice volley coming in, going to kill 6 or 7 Black Guard and 5 or 6 more with the second volley. This is huge. Any damage I can do to the Black Guard is going to be a really big deal because they could mess up Teclis in a long, dragged-out fight, especially if Morathi is still alive. More explosive arcane attacks going the way of the Dark Shards. They will rout very soon. I'll stay on top of them to make sure they cannot come back to the fight, and Sisters just need to run like hell. Everything else is gone. I have 3 units left. Just the High Lore Master, shred of Sisters of Avalorn, and the Silver and Guard at about half HP. Now Morathi has the opportunity. Sulafet will go into melee and feast. Their goring tusks and horns, ripping up those Sisters, and Black Guard closing in too, and that'll be a rout for those girls, and they'll go all the way to the edge of the map. The Silver and Guard are going to be such an important factor here. They're now the only thing that's preventing Teclis from getting that leadership penalty for being the only thing left alive up in the air. He's going after the Dark Shards, and Silver and Guard are just tying down the Dread Spears, and they'll be able to tie down the Black Guard too and prevent them from going after the High Lore Master. Regrowth going their way. They are below half HP. They have lost their martial prowess, but that will put them back over the cap and give them that high melee defense once again. That is the that's the third regrowth Teclis has cast this battle, alongside 2 enfeebling foes, 2 nets, a flaming sword of ruin, and he's cast his potion of Shiroi a couple times as well. So yeah, again, his magical output is just absurd. There's no other way to put it. Sisters came back, and they've got a couple more volleys too. We're in the endgame now. 2 extremely powerful lords, both on flying burbs of doom. Their battle will be legendary, and the foot troops are going to slog and grind in the muck to try and give their lords a leg up in this inevitable duel. Doesn't get much closer than this, guys. It's going to be a hype ending for sure. Silver and Guard with their newly returned martial prowess from the regrowth going into melee. Sisters getting a few magical arrows firing into the Black Guard from behind. Dread Spears waiting on the wings to try to support as Teclis goes in and routs off the Dark Shards, and Heir of Carthage is going to take this opportunity to charge into melee. Third enfeebling foe of the battle. Gonna severely deplete Morathi's melee prowess, and then they're going right at it. Both are gonna have terrible stats. Both are just going to placidly wave their dicks around, I guess. I mean, there's just not a whole lot they do to each other right now. And they're both hitting like 25, 30 melee attack and melee defense. It's just not very easy to deal any damage to each other. Silver and Guard are champions of the mortal realms. Ulthuan's defenders through and through. They are beating Black Guard in melee. Although, to be fair, they had more HP going into that fight, and they weren't getting shot in the rear by Sisters of Avalorn. We're going to get that rear charge off, and now it's starting to swing in the High Elves' favor, but Morathi is starting to swing the duel in her favor. Now that Enfeebling Foe has worn off, she's still got her Enchanting Beauty and her Heartrender and the Dark Sword. That's giving her a big leg up in the fight. Teclis is obviously at the healing cap, because Potion of Shiroi and Regrowth have sent him there a long time ago, and she's winning. Another Enfeebling Foe! It is absurd. His Winds of Magic pool. Dread Spears coming in as well. We got the Silver and Guard fighting it out. Spears going at it, and it's looking like it might be a mass rout for the Dark Elves, and High Elves will take the battlefield on slivers of HP. Not much left on that field at all. Really fun battle. Really, really close. Now, I'm a little bit torn on the High Lore Master inclusion with the Arcane Phoenix. I feel like Teclis was already a really good lord. There were two meta picks for the High Elves. It was Illyriel, who's their #1 go-to, Bad B, and then it was Teclis himself. On horse, he's a really good lord. His spellcasting was already amazing. I feel like maybe he didn't need this Arcane Phoenix to be a viable pick in any way, shape, or form, whether you're talking about campaign or multiplayer. I'm not sure it's the most thematic thing ever, because he didn't ride one in the lore. At the same time, it certainly is going to contribute to him becoming one of the best lords in the game. Now, again, the downside to the Arcane Phoenix is it doesn't have the bounce spells that the other ones have, and it's extremely expensive at 1750 gold, but I think you can see the utility that brings to the field, the sheer killing power. He got well over 100 kills and did all that casting as well. None of the kills were from his spellcasting. He didn't do any chain lightnings. That was all in melee on the Flaming Burb of Doom. So yeah, Teclis is a force of nature now for sure. The Archer strat was solid, but would have performed even better if there had been a Hydra, a Charybdis, a Black Dragon, some kind of large single entity or chariot they could snipe out. Would have gone down way faster than a Dark Pegasus, which can matrix dodge all those shots. Aaron did a great job of diving into the rear. We're gonna make sure that we try out that Archer strat in a more controlled environment and then in a different battlefield where they have better targets to shoot at. I think it's gonna be really powerful.